I have this one dress that, for reasons I can't fully explain, just makes me feel lucky. It's a light blue sundress with tiny white stars all over it. Nothing glamorous or trendy, but it fits me perfectly and flows just right. The first time I wore it, I got offered a freelance gig totally out of the blue. Another time, a random woman in line at a coffee shop paid for my drink and said, "You look like sunshine today." Since then, I've worn it to job interviews, first dates, and even just when I need a little boost. It's my lucky dress, and I know how silly that sounds, but I don't care. I don't actually believe the dress is magic or anything, but somehow, every time I put it on, good things seem to happen. And even if they don't, I still feel more confident. That, in itself, feels like a kind of luck. It's soft, it's breezy, and it reminds me of simpler times. I bought it at a thrift store for less than $10 during a summer road trip with friends. I was sunburned and sweaty, and we'd been driving for hours. The AC in the car was broken, and we'd stopped just to get water and stretch our legs. I found the dress on a clearance rack, slipped it over my swimsuit in the dressing room, and instantly felt like myself again. Ever since, I've worn it more times than I can count. It's faded now, sure, and maybe a little too familiar to my close friends, but it still makes me feel grounded, like I have something that belongs just to me. A soft, starlit armor for days when I need it. But not everyone sees it that way. Especially not Ava. Ava is the kind of friend who always looks like she's stepped out of a lifestyle blog. Hair always perfect, eyeliner sharp enough to cut glass, and outfits curated like magazine spreads. I admire her confidence, how she carries herself like she owns any room she walks into. But when it comes to fashion, Ava doesn't just have opinions. She has rules. We met in college during our freshman orientation and clicked right away. Over the years, our styles couldn't have diverged more. Me with my comfy, colorful vibes, and her with her sleek, minimalist chic. I never thought that would become a problem. But Ava, well, she notices everything, and she comments on it too. The first time I wore the starry dress around her, we were grabbing coffee before class. She looked me up and down, raised an eyebrow, and said, "Cute, very whimsical." I laughed it off, assuming she meant it playfully. But after that, every time I wore it, she had something to say. "Still hanging on to that thing, huh? You really love that dress, don't you? I swear, that dress has seen more weekends than I have." At first, it was funny. I'd joke back, tell her it was my magic charm or my superhero cape. But eventually, the comments stopped being casual teasing and turned into flat-out disapproval. She started calling it juvenile, saying it made me look like I was stuck in high school. Once, after I showed up wearing it to a small party, she whispered to someone within earshot, "She's seriously still wearing that?" It stung more than I expected. Not because of the dress, but because it was Ava. She's supposed to be my best friend. Someone who knows that I wear things because they make me feel good, not because I'm trying to impress anyone. But she wasn't letting it go. And the more she pushed, the more I clung to it. At some point, it became routine. I'd show up wearing the dress, whether we were going to the movies, brunch, or just walking around downtown, and Ava would give me that look. The eye roll, the sigh, the muttered, "Again?" under her breath like I was some hopeless case. It was subtle at first. I'd catch her glancing at the dress with a tight-lipped smile or shaking her head when she thought I wasn't looking. But it escalated. One time, we were at a friend's rooftop hangout and someone complimented me on the dress. Before I could even say thank you, Ava cut in with, "She wears it all the time. It's like her cartoon character outfit." People laughed. I laughed too. But inside, it hit a nerve. Still, I told myself it wasn't worth making a scene. Ava has always had this way of being brutally honest, like she's doing you a favor by pointing out things others won't. And maybe part of me believed her. Maybe I wondered if I was being too attached to a piece of fabric. But then I'd wear it again. And something good would happen. A stranger would smile. I'd run into someone I hadn't seen in years. I'd get a random compliment. The dress made me feel light. Ava made me feel heavy. I started second-guessing myself before every outing with her. Standing in front of the mirror thinking, should I wear something else? Not because I didn't want to wear the dress, but because I didn't want her to make it an issue. Yet, almost like defiance, I'd reach for it anyway. And like clockwork, she'd comment. Once, while we were leaving her apartment, she looked at me and said, "Don't you ever get tired of wearing that thing?" I looked at her, smiled, and said, "Nope." But I could already feel the tension simmering. It wasn't just about a dress anymore. Something was building between us, and neither of us was backing down. Last Saturday, we had plans for brunch, just the two of us, something we hadn't done in a while. I felt good that morning. The sun was out, I had slept well, and without overthinking it, I pulled on the starry dress. It just felt right. We met at this cozy little spot Ava liked. She showed up in a cream blazer, jeans, and perfect makeup. I smiled when I saw her. She didn't smile back. I knew the look. She clocked the dress the moment she saw me and instantly deflated. We sat down, ordered coffee, and made small talk. But there was this weight in the air, like she was holding something in. Halfway through the meal, she set her fork down with a sigh and said, "I can't take this anymore." I blinked, confused. "Take what?" "That dress," she snapped. "Can you please just retire that thing already?" I laughed, hoping to brush it off. "You're seriously still on about this?" "I'm serious, Mia. You've worn that exact dress to literally every third outing for the past 2 years. It's old. It's childish. It makes you look like you're still in high school." The table went quiet. A couple at the next table glanced over. I lowered my voice. "Ava, it's a dress. I like it. Why does it even matter to you?" "Because it's embarrassing," she hissed. "People stare. You stand out, for the wrong reasons. I feel like I'm going out with a teenager. Grow up, Mia." I felt my face flush. Embarrassment, anger, disbelief, everything all at once. "You're the only one who cares," I said. "If a piece of clothing offends your fashion sense that badly, maybe the issue isn't the dress. Maybe it's you." She pushed her chair back and crossed her arms. "You're acting like a child." I shook my head, trying not to raise my voice. "And you're acting like a bully." Neither of us touched our food after that. We paid in silence. When we stood up, she didn't even say goodbye. She just walked away. After that brunch, everything shifted. The silence between us wasn't just uncomfortable, it was loud, deafening. Ava didn't text me that evening, or the next day. I thought maybe she needed time to cool off, but a week went by, and nothing. When I finally messaged her, just a simple, "Hey, you okay?" She replied hours later with, "I'm fine, just busy." Cold, distant, not Ava. I tried to convince myself it wasn't about the dress. Maybe she was stressed, maybe something else was going on. But then I saw her posting on Instagram, out with friends, including ones we usually hang out with together. I hadn't even been invited. It hit me then. She was mad. Still. A couple days later, a mutual friend, Sam, called me. "What happened between you and Ava?" he asked. "She said you had some kind of blow-up over clothes?" I gave him the short version. His response? "Look, I get that the dress means something to you, but maybe just let it go? If it's upsetting her that much, is it worth all this drama?" That got under my skin. Why was I the one expected to let it go? To change? Ava had humiliated me in public, mocked me, and basically tried to dictate how I should dress. And now people were suggesting I bend just to smooth things over? I started replaying the brunch moment over and over in my head. Her tone, her words. Embarrassing. Juvenile. Grow up. It wasn't just the dress she was tearing down, it was me. I realized then this wasn't just a fashion disagreement. It was something deeper, a power struggle. a line I apparently wasn't supposed to cross, and I had crossed it by standing my ground. After the fallout, it was like someone had flipped a switch. Ava didn't just step back. She pulled away completely. No texts, no calls, no tagging me in memes like she used to. Our conversations, when they happened at all, were flat and mechanical. It was especially awkward in our group chats. She'd chime in with everyone else, laughing, joking, making plans, except when I said anything. She wouldn't reply. Sometimes she'd leave the chat right after I sent a message. Once, I asked a simple question about where we were meeting for a friend's birthday dinner. Ava responded 10 minutes later with, "Sam will text you." Subtle, but sharp. At first, I tried not to read too much into it. I didn't want to assume the worst, but it became undeniable. When our friend Lisa organized a game night, I said I was coming. An hour later, Ava posted in the group, "Actually, I think I'll pass." No one else said anything, but I felt it. The tension, the silence that followed. Eventually, Sam pulled me aside and said, "Look, this is getting ridiculous. You two need to talk." I sighed. I tried. She's the one ignoring me. "Maybe just apologize," he suggested. "Not for wearing the dress. Just for how things went down. Smooth it over." I stared at him. Apologize? For what? For defending myself? For not letting someone else dictate how I dress? He meant well, but the more people encouraged me to just keep the peace, the more it felt like I was being asked to shrink myself to fit into someone else's comfort zone. It wasn't just about Ava anymore. It was about what it meant if I gave in, and I wasn't sure I could. As the days dragged on, the silence started to wear me down. I caught myself staring at the dress hanging in my closet, wondering if maybe everyone was right. Maybe it really was just a dress. Maybe I was being stubborn. There were moments when I almost reached for something else, something more neutral, more grown up, more Ava approved, just to avoid the tension. I hated that I even thought that way. Hated that I let her voice echo in my head every time I got dressed. I started questioning everything. Was I being childish? Was I so emotionally attached to this one piece of clothing that I was willing to ruin a friendship over it? What if Ava was actually trying to help me? Maybe she was just being honest, and I was too sensitive to take it. But then I'd think about how she handled it. Public shaming, mocking, cold shoulders. That didn't feel like honesty. It felt like control. And honestly, I had enough of that growing up. People constantly telling me how I should act, how I should speak, how I should look. The dress, in some strange way, had become a rebellion against that. A reminder that I didn't have to mold myself to someone else's expectations. It wasn't just about fashion anymore. It was about the right to exist in my own skin, on my own terms. Still, the pressure was constant. Sam asked again if I'd reached out. Lisa gently suggested we should all get together and talk things out. Even my sister, after hearing the story, asked, "But wouldn't it just be easier to wear something else when you're with her?" And maybe it would be easier. Maybe it would make things simpler. But at what cost? One afternoon, I pulled the dress off its hanger and just held it. The fabric was softer now, a little worn at the seams. A couple tiny threads near the hem had started to fray. But even like this, maybe especially like this, it felt like home. I sat on my bed and tried to trace back what this dress had really come to mean to me. It wasn't just comfort. It wasn't just nostalgia. It was resilience. It reminded me of who I am when no one's watching, who I was before the rules, the critiques, the quiet pressure to be more polished, more palatable. I thought about that road trip again, the blazing heat, the music blasting through broken speakers, the thrill of spontaneity, that tiny thrift shop with flickering lights. I remembered slipping the dress on over my shorts in a dusty fitting room, turning to the mirror, and smiling without hesitation. No overthinking, just joy. Since then, It had been with me during some of my best moments. I wore it when I got my first real job offer, when I went on a spontaneous solo day trip and watched the sunset over a lake, when I ran into my high school crush and actually held a decent conversation for once. Even when nothing particularly magical happened, it was there, like armor. Something I could count on when I didn't feel like enough. Ava didn't know any of that. To her, it was just a faded dress with a childish print. But to me, it was proof that not everything has to be sleek or cool or filtered to be valuable. That sometimes the things that make us feel like ourselves are the ones worth holding on to. Letting go of that, just to appease someone else's discomfort, felt like giving away a piece of myself. And I wasn't sure I was okay with that. The more I sat with everything, the more I started to look at my friendship with Ava through a different lens. It wasn't just about the dress. That was just the crack in the surface. I started remembering other moments. Little things I brushed off at the time, like the time she told me not to laugh so loudly at a party because it was drawing attention. Or when she edited the captions on my Instagram posts before I uploaded them, saying, "Trust me, this sounds better." Or when she pushed me to cancel a date with someone she didn't think was my level. I thought she was just being protective. I even thanked her. Now it felt different. There was always this quiet undercurrent of control. She never raised her voice. She never outright demanded anything. She just nudged, commented, corrected, until I adjusted. The dress was the first time I didn't, and she couldn't handle it. It wasn't just about taste. It was about the fact that I chose something she didn't approve of, and stuck with it. Ava was used to being the authority, the one everyone deferred to. I had done it too, without even realizing. But when I pushed back, when I said, "No, I'm wearing this because I want to," she saw it as defiance. It was never really about embarrassment or fashion sense. It was about control slipping through her fingers. And I started to wonder, if a friend can only love the version of you that fits their ideal, are they really loving you? It hurt to admit it. Ava had been there for so much. But now I had to ask myself whether her presence in my life was lifting me up, or slowly, silently pressing me down. And when I looked at it that way, the answer was starting to feel clearer. It's been a few weeks now, and I've worn the dress twice since the fallout. Once to a bookstore event where I met a writer I love, who complimented it, by the way, and once just walking through the park, headphones in, breeze in my hair. No Ava, no commentary. Just me, feeling like myself. Ava and I still haven't talked. She's kept her distance and so have I. Sometimes I catch myself drafting a message to her, thinking maybe I should be the bigger person, extend the olive branch, offer some middle ground. But every time, I stop. Because I'm not sure what I'd be apologizing for wearing something that makes me feel happy, for not folding under pressure, for refusing to let a piece of fabric become a symbol of someone else's approval. And then I wonder, maybe I'm the villain here. Maybe I am being immature, holding onto a dress like it's sacred, letting it cost me a friendship. Maybe people are right. Maybe it's just a dress. But then again, maybe it's not. Maybe it's the line I drew finally, after years of subtle correction. Maybe it's the stand I took, quietly, stubbornly, to be who I am without shame or editing. I miss Ava. I miss laughing until we cried, dancing in kitchens, binge-watching trashy reality shows on her couch. But I don't miss the weight of her judgment. I don't miss feeling small. So now I'm sitting with the question, was I wrong for holding my ground? For refusing to change this one thing, even when it created distance? Was I the asshole for choosing a dress over a friendship? Or was the friendship already unraveling, and the dress just made it visible? You tell me.